Mindshift Monday. I'm Fatima Bey The MindShifter, and I'm here to help you to shift your thinking for your own success. I'm here every Monday at 7 p.m., and I talk about different topics. I dive deeply into any topic I talk about, so your typical politically correct, safe topics is not what I stick to. I talk about real world, I give real world examples and talk about real stuff that we deal with. So right now I am, if I didn't already say it, I'm an international mind shift coach. If you haven't, if you're unfamiliar with me, so I'm going through a series right now. I'm really excited about this message tonight. It's a little bit different. Um, I'm going through a series called Leadership Series, and I'm talking about different aspects of leadership and taking a deep dive into micro topics within the realm of leadership. So right now, I'm today's topic is called "Your Title is Just the Start." What's your true leadership position? I'm going to say that again. Your title is just the start. What's your true leadership position? LinkedIn, I am, for my LinkedIn peeps, I'm going to try to pay attention to look at your comments. So go ahead and make them. Just give me a minute if I happen to. There we go. Just give me a minute if I happen to. If I happen to miss them. So anyway, let's dive right into it. So, and let's see. If you are on Facebook, you can your comments should show up. Oh, there we go. Your comments should show up here. So you can go ahead and comment, and I should see the Facebook ones here. I'm using a new streaming service, which I started using last week, and I think I got it down packed, but you know how that goes. So anyway, um, let's talk about the difference between a title and a position. So a title is something that it's assigned. It's a position that is earned um, through. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. A title is assigned. It's just that. It's words above your head. It's words on a piece of paper. It's words on a name tag. They're words, and it's assigned to you. A position is something that is earned through respect and trust. So, I'm going to ask you the question again in the title. Your title is just a start. What is your true leadership position? So, we're going to go take a deep dive into that. So, the person with a true position often holds far more power than the person with just a title. So, the person with a title, um, they've got the title of manager, they've got the title of senator, they've got the title of prince, they've got the title of pastor. I'm just naming off random ones, but they've got the title of school principal, school administrator, whatever it is. They've got these titles, but that may not be the position they're in for those around them. And I need you to understand that it's very important that when you look at a leader and when you look at yourself as a leader, do not confuse the two. They are not the same. They can be connected, and ideally we'd like them to be connected, but often they are not. So we're going to take a deep dive into it. So I'm going to tell you a really personal story today. An example of everything that I'm talking about. So many of you know that that I had a sewing business called My Abishai, where I make and design wedding gowns. I recently stopped doing that so that I could pursue everything MindShifter and just do this full time. So the reason I was able to do that is because of the fact that I worked at David's Bridal. And I used to be the alteration manager there. Yes, the one in Albany, the only one around here. And I did that I was at David's Bridal for about 10 years. Half of that, I was the alteration manager. So As the alteration manager, the thing that you guys probably don't know, that was one of the hardest positions I've ever held in my life. It's one of the hardest positions any of you could hold. Um, it is extremely stressful. There's nothing more stressful than the back end of a bridal shop, because we already know that brides are stressed out, right, for the wedding. And that's just normal. They're stressed out, and sometimes that they take out the stress on whoever's in front of them. And your dress is the most, you know, basically, I feel like I have a PhD in psychology because I worked at David's Bridal. Because if PhDs were earned, I'd have 6 of them by now. So I was there. When I first got promoted and became the alteration manager, it was hard. So here I was, years old. I was very young. I was very young and American. Now, some people would say, but you were black too. But believe it or not, that's actually wasn't as relevant to these people as the fact that I was American. So let me explain what I mean. Almost everybody in my department was from another country. Most of them, twice my age, had been sewing as long as I've been alive. And here I am, their boss. Here I am telling them how things should be done and the way that we need to sew rolled hems and the way that uh, uh, horsehair hems should be done, etc. I'm just giving you some details, etc., etc. Here I am telling them the way things should be done. We had to keep a productivity chart. Yes, they had to keep a productivity chart, which I understood but disagreed with, and I would still do it differently than they did it. But it added stress to everything. They had to account for every minute they were there. So I think there are better ways to, more productive ways of doing that. But anyway, so here I was, young and American, and all of them from Italy, Greece, let me see, at the time, Korea, Guatemala, um, uh, Ukraine, just all these different, Russia, all these different countries that they were all from, Vietnam. And they had far more experience than I did as far as the bridal industry goes. I could sew, but the bridal industry. So here I was, this young kid to them, coming in with a lot less sewing experience, not on their level anyway yet. And here I am, their boss. Do you know how hard that was? And it's already a stressful position to begin with. And then you add that on top of it. So, with all of that being said, what most of them did not understand was the main reason I was hired wasn't just because I could sew. Sure, I could sew. Obviously, to be an alteration manager, I have to sew. But the main reason I was hired was business management. They needed someone who could sew but also understood how to run a business or manage a business. And since I had a retail management background and I worked there already and everybody knew me, it was like the perfect fit. So the hard part was there was a I had a title, but not any real power yet. And I'm going to explain why. So here I was, the alteration manager. I had the title, but I didn't have the position of authority to move them in the way I wanted to move them, for things to flow the way I needed them to flow back there, because I inherited a mess, a real mess. The manager that was there before me was absent for a while. It wasn't it wasn't about the job that she did. It was about her absence. So there's no one in the department. So I inherited a mess. I have these women who don't want to respect me because I'm young and American, and half their age, have grandkids my age, right? And then you add all the stress that naturally comes with a position when you're turning out work that has to be pristine and you don't have enough staff or people or hours to do it. So there was a woman who was one of the staff. She was very just pushed back against anything I did, was very resistant, primarily because she went for the position and didn't get it, and I did, and felt like it didn't make sense because she had more experience. But what she didn't understand was the business management was the priority over sewing experience. So anyway, this woman was just against me and just was difficult to work with. Didn't do anything for me to fire her, but just wasn't very cooperative either because she was just had a chip on her shoulder about the fact that I got the position. Well, fast forward in the future, it took me a long time to gain the respect, but I actually did gain the respect of all these older women who thought I was just this young, spoiled brat American, inexperienced, you name it, right? So I had to earn their respect. And I did eventually. And do you know what happened after I earned their respect? That woman that was pushing up against me so much from the beginning, she became practically my right hand man. When I hired new people in and I needed them to train, okay, I got you, I'll do it. She was, if I needed something done, she was right there. If she could do it, she was trying to figure out a way. And I had a staff that wanted to work for me, not just work under me. There's a difference. I'm going to say that again. I had a staff that wanted to work with me and not just under me. Why? Because respect is far more powerful of a tool than a title. I could have said, well, I'm the manager, da, 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 you know, and I did do a little bit of that at first because I thought I needed to until I learned because, you know, hey, everything's a learning curve. You learn, right? One of the reasons I'm good at a lot of stuff I do now is because David's Bridal. I'm very grateful for my time there because I feel like that was my university. So I was able to maybe 6 months or so. I don't even remember how long. It took a while. And 6 months doesn't may not seem like a long time for you guys, but when you're in a high stress environment, that is a long time. But I was finally able to get them to respect me to the point that when I finally left David's Bridal, for years later, they were still inviting me to dinner, and people who worked in an apartment who never met me knew who I was. Why? Because I had their respect. They missed me after I was gone. But let me tell you, there's a lot of things I would do differently now than I did then. But, you know, again, it's a learning curve. But why I'm telling you this story is to point out that the question that I asked in the beginning, okay, yes, you have a title, but what's your real position? Do the people that work you're under you, with you, at your job, in your business, at your church, whatever your leadership position is, in your city, because you're the mayor, do they respect you? Do they take you seriously? Let's talk about that. So I'm going to point out to you the specific things that I did in order to get this victory. So in order to get the respect that I was able to gain from the staff. And I look back now and I'm pretty amazed. At the time, I didn't think of it as amazing. I just thought of it as what I needed to do. And it was very stressful. But at the same time, I loved it though. What I loved about it wasn't the job itself. I loved the customers, which is why I started my own bridal business afterwards. I loved the customers because if I didn't, I would have left. Do you know how many days I wanted to quit? Do you know how many days I was ready to freaking walk out the door? But I refused to quit. I refused to fail. I refused. That is the only reason I stayed there. Now, I'm going to tell you what I did to make that happen. And I'm saying this to you because I know there are many leaders out there listening right now. And you are in a position, now you're questioning, and because I'm talking to you about it right now, you're like, well, I have a title, but do I really have the respect? I do want you to question that. And if the answer is no, there's still hope for you. So let's get into it. So what I did was, number one, I showed interest. I showed interest in them. So I didn't just bark at them. I didn't just talk at them. I showed interest in them by asking them, how do you say this in Russian? How do you say this in Romanian? What was it like growing up in Greece? I would have these little side conversations while we're also to make it more interesting too. But I would show interest in them as people and in their culture. That's still showing interest in them as people. Now, I genuinely do love people from other cultures, and I love learning from people in other cultures. So if you are from another country or culture, I'm always going to ask a lot of questions because I find it fascinating. I love learning from people who are different than me. I've always been that way. But the thing is, I showed interest in them. You don't have to show interest the same way that I did. But if you show interest and not just you are here as my subservient. You will never, ever, ever, never, 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 ever, ever, never, 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 ever, and 2 weeks after that, you will never gain anybody's respect if they are just your subjects. Let me say that to you right now, because that's if that's your mindset, that's already your defeated problem. And you will always hit a plateau with what you're going to get out of your staff if you're running a business, what you're going to get out of your church members, what you're going to get out of what you're going to get out of your city if that's your mindset. They're people. If you treat them like people and not just projects or subservience or to to uh things to help you get stuff done, then there's a chance for that respect to build. So I showed interest in them. I also showed appreciation. So what I would do to show appreciation, I would verbally, when it's not expected, when it's not obligated, just say, you know what? Thank you, so and so, for handling that customer. Thank you for getting this dress done today. Thank you for working an extra hour today. Or just thank you for all the hard work you do. I would show up randomly. Well, I remember one time I showed up randomly with a single stem rose for all the staff in my department and just said, thank you for all your hard work. It was unprovoked. Nobody did anything special. But you know why it meant something? Because it wasn't obligatory. I didn't have to do it. I wasn't, there wasn't like a problem I was trying to solve. I did it because I meant it and I wanted to. That, little things like that will do more than obligatory Christmas gifts because they're expecting that. A birthday gift. I'm not expecting a box of chocolates on a Tuesday, a single stem rose. I went to where there was this dollar store near me at the time, or near us at the time, and I went and got everybody a little trinket from that dollar store. It was like I call it the Chinese dollar store. She had a lot of good stuff in there, but the woman that owned it was actually Chinese, and she did have a lot of actual like Chinese stuff in there. It's just, I love the store. So I got like little lipstick holders, little tiny little wallets, little glasses holder, like pretty little ones, like with Asian prints on it. And I got one for everyone. Again, just because I felt like it. I'd come in and bring in, cupcakes one day. Little, you don't have to do it every day, but little things like that. Here's a little tip for you. If you are especially, I don't care what you're actually, no matter what your title is. You remember old fashioned greeting cards? Now, this younger generation mostly doesn't use them unless it's like a graduation or something. Again, Christmas, something obligatory. Write an individual, handheld, handwritten greeting card to your staff. Nothing incriminating, just saying, I'm just appreciating you for all the hard work you do. That's it. Give it to them. Something simple. You'd be surprised how much that will carry you in hard times, how much they'll remember stuff like that. Now, don't do it and then be like, all right, so what am I going to get from you? Because that mindset we can all read and we're not interested. You don't build respect that way. So, and the other thing that I did was I listened. I listened to them. I listened to their woes. Oh, and let me mention this. I don't have this on my notes, but I think somebody out there listening right now needs this. I also took my best sewers, my best staff, and gave them a tiny little raise when they weren't expecting it. You know why? When it came time for the bigger raises, they were happy. But not only that, it showed that I actually care. And it showed that I really do actually appreciate you. I want to keep you around. You are a rare find. And the times where I did it, they actually were rare finds. So you can't just replace seamstresses. I don't care. And not in America. In other countries, you can. But in the U.S., you can't just replace a bridal level seamstress. Good luck. You're going to have to go to sleep and find them in your dreams because they don't exist that much anymore. So that's an older generation thing now. So anyway, I listened. So if there was an issue, I didn't just brush it off. I listened if there's a problem. But that listening allowed them to come to me when there was a real problem that I needed to solve immediately, and I wouldn't have been aware of if they hadn't come to me. This is a problem here, or what about that? So I listened. One of the other ways that I built respect, and this is actually not my notes either, is they heard me with customers. I could calm down a bride that was about to go ballistic and explode the world. And I just come out very calm, talk to them, figure out what the problem is, and solve it with a smile and pleasantly, and showing that I was doing my best effort. And I really was. I don't want problems. I'd rather solve it. I understand brides are stressed out, and the last thing I want to do is add to that stress. That was my mindset. So my customer service was, they heard me with the customers all the time, and I would always hear from them. They're like, "You're wow." They were shocked at sometimes how I was able to calm down the craziest bride. But to me, it wasn't. It was just natural to me because that's just the way I think. But that built respect as well. Watching you do greatness when you don't have to. Well, and now I'm not talking about myself right now. I'm talking about you. Watching you do greatness when you don't have to. That can build respect as well. Um, I did not throw around my authority, so I didn't say, "Well, you have to do this because I'm the manager and I said so." If it came down to it, sure, but that was like a last resort. It wasn't a first resort. And if you're making it a first resort in your approach to solutions, you are part of the problem, because that all that does is make people combative, and it makes people go, "Whoa." And again, I'm using my work example, but this applies to pastoring. This applies to running a community center. This applies to running your nonprofit. This applies to being the mayor of a city. This applies to many, 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 many different things. You are a manager of a department. It still applies. So, what my point is, I built my authority. I built my position. I didn't just have a title. I built myself into a position of power where I got to a point where if I needed something done, all I had to do was ask. I need extra hours. Now, if they were just working, they don't care about giving me no extra hours. No, I'm busy. Now, if they couldn't, then they would just tell me they couldn't. They usually would tell me why. But if they could, they would really, I mean, sometimes they would rearrange things at home so they could work the extra hours because they could see I was stressed, and they knew that we were doing the best we could with not enough seamstresses. And my point in saying all of that is that it that respect was a bigger tool for my success. Now, was everything perfect? Hell no. Is everything going to be perfect? Never. But we're not looking for perfect. We're looking for progress and better, or at least best. Perfect isn't real. So don't expect that from yourself or your staff. That will never happen. But um now my question to you is, what is your true position? In your leadership position, which may be in the home, do your children respect you? I'm going to sidebar this right now. I'm going to run off on a little bit of a tangent here because I know somebody needs to hear it. Parenting is a position of power. It's a position of leadership. You may be a leader of just one or two, but those are one or two important people because they're yours. Do your children respect you? That is a multifaceted question because it's a multifaceted answer. But sometimes the reason they don't respect you is because you don't respect yourself. Sometimes the reason they don't respect you is because you allow disrespect from them or others. Sometimes the reason they don't respect you is because they see you lie and conniving all the time. How are they supposed to respect that? And some of you, your kids do respect you because they see you dealing with hard stuff. They see you combating things. They see you standing on honor. They see you having integrity. That builds respect. They When you listen to your kids, it's so much easier for them to listen to you. Doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. Doesn't mean they're going to listen to you the first time. But it's not too late to change. So no matter what your position is in leadership, if I'm talking about you and you know that I kind of suck when it comes to dealing with my staff, I don't think I have the respect that I should. Okay, maybe you don't. Maybe they don't like you. It's not the end of the world. It can change. You know why I know it? Because I did it. And I'm not better than you. I did have to work hard at it, and you're going to have to work hard too. But your greatest position of power is one where you have actual influence. Just because you have a title doesn't mean you have influence. Having a title means you might get obedience, but you're going to get the minimal out of people if they're only obeying your title. You're going to get the maximum out of people if they are fulfilling your request out of respect or desire to help. Something to think about. So, what's your true position? The tip that I have for you, and I have it here, but I already gave it to you. Show appreciation. I'm going to repeat it. Show appreciation when it is not expected or seems when it's not expected or when it's not obligatory. If it comes across as obligatory, it won't be appreciated as much as if you show appreciation when they don't expect it. That is such a big deal. That is such a big deal. So, again, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to look at comments in a minute, but I'm going to leave you with this uh, statement, my own quote. Leadership is not an automatic title. It is an earned position. If you're on a job and you come in, you got a title, yes, people are going to obey you because you have the title. But are you getting the most out of them? People are like, yeah, everything's running great. We're making 300 grand a year in my new business. That's really awesome. It's too bad you're not making 500 or 600 because your staff doesn't respect you. Whatever you're doing, you can do more with actual influence. Do people want to listen to what you have to say? Or do they just obligatory follow because they have to? You're going to get different results. You're going to get different results from the obligatory people versus the ones who actually want to hear what you have to say because they respect you. So don't just throw around your title like that's supposed to be enough. It's not. Real leadership position is earned. All right. So that is going to be it for today. And for those of you watching in the future, I hope that you get something out of this and really apply it to your life. Thank you for watching. Oh, one more thing. I forgot. Uh, Go to fatimabey.com, FATIMABEY.com, to learn about all the other stuff that I do. I have daily encouragement, words of wisdom. I have an audio blog that you really going to want to listen to. It's different than the material I give here on Mindship Mondays. And I have a podcast that is gaining recognition you're going to want to pay attention to as well. All right, thanks.